Hello, welcome to Fabulous Food. Today we're going to make a leek and potato soup. So the first thing we need to do is to chop our onion up. So we're going to cut the tip of the onion off. I'm going to turn it round, cut the root off. Remember the trick, if you hold it down you can get it to start peeling itself. And then we're going to peel the onion skin off. So that's all the brown bits and any other layers of skin that don't look very nice, and then clear that off of your chopping board so it doesn't end up in your product. So bridge over the onion, knife going through the middle, rock the knife down, turn the onion so you have the flat side on the board to make it more stable. We want to chop the onion up, so we're going to do our bridge hold again over the half of an onion, and we're going to come through the bridge 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to come 5 times because that's quite a big onion. And then if you can, with your pincer grip, you can hold the onion together and then come across the onion the other way, so sliding your fingers back as you come across, and that will cube the onion up for you. If that's too difficult for your hands, you can use your pincer grip just to cut the onion like this into slices. And then you can cut each slice across, or you can pile a couple of slices up together. So it's up to you how you do it, but just remember to keep your fingers safe. So that's my onion diced up. The recipe says that we need 3 large potatoes, but I didn't have any large potatoes. In fact, that's all I've got left in my fridge. So I'm going to peel these, and I think that will be the equivalent. So there are 2 kinds of peelers. We have both at school for you to use. I prefer to use this straight one here. So the sharp blade needs to make contact with the potato, and just pull it round and peel the potato like that. If you're using a Y-shaped peeler, again the blade is sharp in the middle. The sharp part of the blade needs to make contact with the potato, and then you just pull it across the potato like that and keep peeling until all of your potatoes have been peeled. So my potatoes are peeled. I'm just going to put the peelings in my compost box so they don't get muddled up with my potato, and then we'll chop the potatoes. So we're going to chop the potatoes into 1 centimetre cubes. So it depends on the size really and the shape of your potato. I think I'm going to cut down the middle, so with my bridge hold, and cut through. And then I'm going to use a bridge and cut down the middle again, like that. And then I'm going to come across and cut my potatoes into shapes like that. So look at the potatoes you've got, work out the best way of chopping them up. Just make sure you chop everything to the same size because you want it to cook through at the same rate. So there are my potatoes all cubed. I'm just going to move those aside. I don't need those yet. And we're going to move on to our leeks. So leeks will need a little bit of a wash before we can use them. If you just cut the top of the leek off, like that, and then take the outer layer off if it's tough. Sometimes you don't need to, but I'm going to peel the outer layer off. So we want to cut our leek in half lengthways, almost to the bottom, so we can run some tap water in it and just wash out any dirt. So bridge hold at the bottom here, knife in, bring the knife along, move your hand up, bring the knife along. So we're keeping our bridge all over the leek, but well away from the knife. And now I'm going to take this to the tap and just run the tap water into the leek, and then give it a good shake to rinse it, and do the same with the other leek. So my leeks are nice and rinsed. You can see that they're wet. Now I'm going to chop them into chunks. So I'm going to have my pincer grip holding the leek together here, and I'm just going to bring my knife across and chop each leek into pieces. And because we already cut the leek in half lengthways, they're naturally falling into halves anyway. We get to the end, we don't want the very end piece, but it gives you something to hold on to, and then I'll pop that in the compost. So I'll do the same for the other leek now. So my chopping board's got quite full up, and I only really want to put the leeks into my saucepan. So you might want to keep your potatoes in a separate bowl. I'm just going to slide my leeks into the pan using my knife. So I've still got the potatoes on the chopping board. I'm going to add some oil, 2 tablespoons of oil to my pan. And then I'm going to put it on the heat and fry the onion and the leeks without browning them. I just want them to soften. You can see I've put my pan on the heat. I've got it on high to get some heat into the pan, and once it starts sizzling, I'll turn it down to medium heat. So you can hear them sizzling away now. So there's plenty of heat in the pan. I'm going to turn them down so they don't burn to a medium heat and just leave them sizzling while I make my stock. So to make my stock, I'm going to take a jug that will hold 600 millilitres of water. You can either use the scale to measure the water in the jug. I'm going to sit my jug on my scales, press them to 0, and grams weigh the same as millilitres, so I can weigh 600 grams. Here's my stock cube. I've got a vegetable stock cube as it's a vegetable soup, but you could use any flavour stock cube you have in the cupboard or a stock pot. So open the cube, break it down into the jug. Then I need to set my scales back to 0 because they've got the weight of the stock cube in them now, and pour in 600 millilitres of boiling water. Then give it a stir with your spatula just to encourage the stock cube to dissolve. And now I'm going to add my potatoes to my pan first, and then I'm going to pour my stock in so that the hot stock liquid doesn't splash up in my face. Turn the heat back up to high and wait till the stock comes to the boil. So you can see now that there's lots of bubbles, there's boiling stock in that pan. So I'm going to turn the heat down to a gentle simmer. So that means just a few bubbles. I'm going to put the lid on and I'm going to leave it to simmer for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and check and see if the potatoes are cooked through. So my soup was cooking for about 20 minutes, and I tested it by taking a sharp knife and just pushing the knife into a cube of potato to make sure the potato was cooked all the way through, which it is. So when we get to this stage, you can choose. You can either leave your soup like this, so that it's got lots of lumps and texture in it, or when you're in school, Mrs. Halloran or I would liquidise your soup for you using a stick blender like this. And if you've got one of these at home or a liquidizer, you can actually liquidise your soup at home. So you put the stick blender into the pan and then press the button. You can see that it's changing texture. It's becoming more creamy as the potatoes break down. So whatever texture you're going to have your soup, you'll need to season it. So I'm going to do that finally now. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt, but not too much because there's a lot of salt in a stock cube. And then I'm going to add plenty of black pepper to give it some heat and some flavour. Mrs. Halloran loves a bit of black pepper. She'd add a lot to her soup. And then I'm going to give it one final mix round. Take the blender out. And now that soup is ready to serve. So I hope that you enjoy your leek and potato soup, whether you have it chunky or whether you have it liquidised. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.